stuff at Nicastros and seafood and eat at restaurants is the old city of Ottawa and the old city of Gatineau. Okay? There are people that come from as far away as Pembroke and Cobden and all kinds of places, Cornwall, and in the Outaouais to shop at the Byron Market weekly, to do their grocery shopping. It's that important to them. There are people from upper New York State who come. So that's the kind of dynamic that that market is. And so we have to balance, as the city, the demands for parking, the demands for people to get in there. So part of the reason why this concept is being proposed was the Environmental Advisory Committee, the council, wanted Byron and William Streets closed. And that was their view, because they said it should just be a tourist area, there should be more festivals down there, make it into the Quincy Market in Boston, close it all down. And the reality is, for the people who are trying to operate the butcher and the baker, they're not doing very well these days, because people can go to Costco and all kinds of other places, but they're not supporting those businesses. So all the studies have said if we lose the produce stands, and if we, so the farmer concept, and if we lose the meat potatoes of the stores, the market is gone. It becomes like the Quincy Market. So those are what we have to balance as a city. So we got special authority. So we had a bylaw in 95 that tried to balance all those things, and it got thrown out for a bunch of reasons. Our authority was challenged. And then we had to wait till a new municipal act. We tried to work with the Stamholders Association to come up with new stuff that we could go to Queen's Park and get the legislation. That didn't work for a bunch of reasons. And in 2008, the province changed the rules of engagement for municipalities. So we now have broader authority. So that's what we used to build the new bylaw. So there was a lot of talk about that. The problem is we don't know who you folks were. If we didn't have, we had 2 very bad summers weather-wise, so we actually did register buskers and let people know what was going on with the new bylaw. But again, everybody thinks of bylaws being dealing with the meat and potatoes. So we apologize if you feel that you haven't been engaged in the process. That was part of the challenge for us as staff to try to figure out who the community was. And so we want to continue that discussion, and again, looking back, it's unfortunate that we didn't have you registered. But in trying to develop what we did, we had to look at all aspects of the market. And we knew, just like the craft community, there were different demands, different things. We tried to keep everybody. One of the issues for us is to try to balance the demand for busker space and the vendors and the businesses. How do we try to do that? So some of the things we wanted to create a rotational process through that. We looked at models, we had staff research other cities, download their rules and regulations, they talk to people. There are places out there that have 12 spaces, that's it.
How did you come up with such a high price for the buskers?
I can explain all that, and then I'll take any questions. Yeah. So I'm going to talk, and then I'll be happy to stay here all night if you want to answer questions. It just is important that you understand the context. Okay, so I want to give you that framework.
The market's a vibrant money thing. I think everybody's aware of that. The first part of the meeting, we covered most of that.
Yeah. It's just important to know that we're on the busker stuff, so we're starting to go deep in the areas that interest you. So when we talk to other cities, it was they control them by numbers. So they have an addition once a year. One time a year you show up as a busker, and it's in May. I think the folks in Grantville do it in May. They're just doing it now in Quincy Market. And they get what you guys call the big, pass the hat acts or whatever. Usually the very big busking acts, not acoustic guitars and stuff. And they have 10 or 12 of those, and that's all they approve. No one else is allowed on the site. That's it. So instead of them having programming, that's what they do. And that's what they do in most locations. It's a once-a-year addition process. Same thing in the subway systems in Toronto, New York, everywhere else. Once a year, too bad. And
you'll be doing the same?
No, at all.
One thing about Toronto.
Okay, hold on a sec. Don't worry. So we looked at that process and said, no, we don't want to do that because we know we have people that move through the city and come and want to be part of it. So we looked at all those things and said, we want to create a program that's as flexible as possible, allow someone to come in today, sign up, and be here when they're here for the Busker Festival in August, give them an opportunity to move through spots. Some are better than others. Most of them are historic. We know, because we've tried to work with you guys over the last 25 years, to give you space for 1 hour at a time, which is typically what you guys have tolerated. Unfortunately, some people don't do that. So we have people come to us and say, that guy I went past an hour and a half ago and he was there, but he said he just got there when I talked to him 15 minutes ago. Will you do something?
There's only a couple of guys that do.
Okay, but how do we control that, right? So the couple of those guys are hogging the spaces, right? We have police say that some of those people really aren't buskers, they're really panhandlers, we get rid of them. So it goes on and on and on. We have some people say it's too loud, stop them from doing it. We've had vendors throw, hold on a second, we've got vendors who throw pails of water on buskers and wreck guitars, and so it goes on and on and on. Everybody knows the accordion player we had last summer. We used up about, I would say, 150 hours of our time, mine included, because of all the injustices that society inflicted upon the market. So, as you understand, you've heard some of the tension about, well, you do this in front of my space, I do this in front of your space. We have to manage that. So, Montreal, in their markets, they prohibit buskers because they had so many problems with trying to manage it at Chantilly and Atwater. There are no markets, there are no vendors in program in the markets because they want to push them out.
I called the city of Montreal, but they have an old Montreal, they have a busker program, and that's.
Yeah, but not in the
But
markets.
the markets is different than the city. The
Yeah.
city
But
legislation.
But they have an old historic area where they do allow buskers.
Old Montreal.
And
This is
and
our
they have an
historic.
audition process.
Yeah, this is our historic area,
Okay.
and that's their
Okay.
historic area.
You're going to have an opportunity to talk.
You just said the markets are different than our markets, so that would mean that this is our historic area, and their historic area as a bus area.
Right. But as I said earlier, the Byward Market is the only district where the historic area is overlaid with a farmer's market and an entertainment area. So in Montreal, you take Crescent Street, and you take Old Montreal, and you take Atwater Market and throw it in 4 square blocks. No other city has that. Okay, that's the problem. This balancing act that we have, no other city has that. That's what we have that's different. So our balancing act, in trying to balance all that, it means that we need a process. So everyone's asking about the fees. We wanted a fee that was fair. Our minimum entry for everybody else is $75, and if they have to be verified or whatever, it's another $75. It's a licensing fee, which is just the fee to arrive. So in the city, the rest of the fees are $100 or more, save and except your cats that have to be licensed, which start at $16. So we looked at those fees and said, to give you guys access and to get your information, that's what that fee covers. So it's all of processing involved in it, making sure that you're on the information list, so you know what's going on in the market. You sign up. If someone says, hey, I want to have these guys at my event or my wedding, we can hand that out if you sign off and do that. So it gives you the opportunity to advertise. All those kind of things, that's what you get for the $50. And then we said, what's a fair price for a day, not setting a yearly permit? The lowest permit fee we have for artists, whether it rains, whether it anything, as a producer, is $13. So we said, well, let's average that out to something, and that's where the $10 came up with. In 1995, it was $5 a day, and people paid. So, not finished yet. So, that's where the $10 came with, and the idea was if you're here for the Busker Festival in August, and you're here for 4 days, you pay your 50 plus 4, which is $90 for a weekend. And other cities have programs, but they don't have to balance the demand for space like we have to balance the demand for space. So we have 4 staff to manage the market. They're there from 6 in the morning till 8 at night for the majority of the season. And our overall budget's about $1.3 million. So other cities create that. They don't enforce it. They don't have to go out and send people out because it's in the middle of nowhere. We are having to deal with busker issues every day that buskers are out there because inter-busker issues, but inter-busker and vendor issues. So we're trying to balance all those things. So in our sense, for access to the market, nowhere else, I'm responsible for citywide licensing, okay? So if a busker wants to play anywhere, we're not imposing this for the city of Ottawa. We're saying in that one very special area that has all that pressure and demand, that's where this program is. And staff have to be there every Saturday, every Sunday. Easter weekend, which was incredibly warm and more like July, had to be there to keep an eye on it all, that the staff have to be there. So those staff have to be paid. We have to manage the whole thing. We advertise, we promote, we sign. And everyone contributes. And the rest of the community totally supported that. All the businesses, all the artists, everyone said, for sure, everybody who's down there. Except, no, but I mean, all the other stakeholders totally supported that. To the point that someone said, that's $200 is a joke. If people are there and are there year round, like there's some buskers.
Victoria.
Right, but they don't,